Do you have any other questions or anything today?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you. Have a safe trip. Take care. Have you ever been placed out of service as a result of a violation that could have been prevented while you're transporting a hazmat load? Hi, I'm Trooper Kevin Stary, and I've been with the Nebraska State Patrol for 5 years. I'm here today to explain that it is the responsibility of every professional driver to understand every aspect that goes into the safe transportation of hazardous materials. Our video today will address these topics as I discuss with you the importance of shipping papers, placarding, loading and unloading, transportation and emergency response in case of leaks or spills as it relates to federal, state, and local regulations, as well as your company policies to transport hazardous materials. Your first item that we must cover in detail today is your shipping papers.
The shipping papers are a key factor to being compliant. It's vital that your shipping papers must be clearly distinguished from other documents. You can do this by tabbing it or having it appear first. The shipping papers need to be in arm's reach while the driver is at the controls and restrained by the seatbelt. If the driver is not in the vehicle, the paperwork must be in the door pocket or on the driver's seat. Never take the shipping papers with you if you leave the truck.
It's always a good idea to store your yellow emergency response guidebook or your material safety data sheet with your shipping papers.
The content in writing on the shipping papers must identify hazardous materials from non-hazardous materials by either being described first, highlighted in contrast color, identified by an X placed before the shipping name and a column marked hazmat, or RQ may be used instead of X if a reportable quantity is present. The shipping papers must describe proper shipping name, an example being radioactive material type A package, hazard class or division, an example here being class 7, identification number preceded by UN or NA, here it is being listed as UN 3332, the weight, quantity of shipment, in this example being 1 truckload, packing group, if any, and remember class 7 does not have a packing group, emergency response telephone number, and the hazmat column. If you have noticed a mistake or misprint or incomplete information on your shipping papers, notify the Werner Enterprises Safety Hotline immediately.
You always want to remain 100% certain that you remain compliant and have a zero chance of being placed out of service.
There are 4 main points to cover when preparing to haul your hazmat load. The first one is hazmat briefing. If you identify the hazardous materials on your bills, you must call in for your hazmat briefing. Werner Enterprises offers this service to all of their drivers to keep them safe and in compliance. In order to be sure all bases are covered, all drivers are required to call in before moving the shipment as part of Werner Company policy. The second point to cover when preparing to haul your hazmat load is your pre-trip inspection. It is very vital that you conduct a thorough pre-trip inspection and correct any issues.
Remember, you are the captain of your ship, and only you can determine if something may need to be adjusted or fixed on your equipment. This is important for every load, but especially critical for a hazardous material shipment.
We want you to be safe and remain in compliance to protect you, fellow motorists, your income, and more important, your family. The third of the 4 points to cover when preparing to haul your hazmat load is the proper placing of placards. It is imperative that you identify the hazardous materials that are being transported. Once you have identified the materials, you can apply the proper placards on your trailer. When placing placards, always make sure that the placards are not damaged and the correct number is on the placard. When transporting a hazmat load, you must always placard all 4 sides of your trailer, and all placards need to be placed 3 inches from any other decals or hardware such as door handles. The best way to ensure proper placement is to use placard holders. Once the placard is in place, install a piece of duct tape over the open end of the holder just to be certain that the placard will not blow out. If you are unable to use the placard holder, do not cover the borderline or any symbols on the placard. Make sure that the placard is placed in a diamond formation and the wording is read from left to right.
This is an example of improper placarding. If you do placard your trailer like this, you may get placed out of service.
And our final 4th point of preparation for preparing your hazmat load is loading and unloading.
If you are present during the loading and unloading process, there are certain rules you'll have to follow to stay compliant.
Always set your handbrakes to ensure that there is no movement while loading or unloading is taking place. Perform visual inspections of packages as they are loaded and unloaded. Secure packages or containers by preventing motion between containers. If freight has not been secured and you are not able to secure it, contact the safety hotline immediately. If you pick up a trailer that is sealed, do not break the seal to inspect the freight. Do not smoke or allow anyone to smoke within 25 feet of the product or trailer. If you see that a package is leaking, immediately contact the safety hotline before leaving the shipper or consignee, even if you are already empty. When you arrive at the consignee, do not remove any placards until you are sure that the material has been removed from your trailer. This will ensure you are prepared in the event of a leak or spill and emergency assistance is required.
We're done with our preparations for the load, so now let's discuss what to do while on transport. So what do you think is the best way to transport the load?
First, it's securing your equipment. Never discuss your route with anyone, especially the contents of the trailer. You should always be alert. If you believe you are being followed, call dispatch or 911 immediately. When parking or taking a short break, always park in a secure lot or a truck stop. Always get out and check the vehicle for missing placards. Make sure that you never leave the load unattended except to pick up meals and use the restroom. If there aren't any options available, contact your fleet manager before leaving the unit. Turn the truck off, never leaving the unit running. Lock all the doors. Take all your keys with you. Always use your tractor trailer locking devices and secure the trailer with the padlock, and be aware that this is a state law in California.
Let's go ahead and review some key points and reminders.
Keep your doors locked at all times. Never take a hazmat load to your home. Try to avoid tunnels and congested areas whenever possible. Always stop at railroad crossings between 15 and 50 feet of the tracks. Be sure there is no smoking in the truck or within 25 feet of the truck. Keep your paperwork in your door or front seat with your emergency response guide or your MSDS. This way, you will always be prepared for an emergency.
Now that we're done transporting the load, we must now prepare ourselves for emergency response action. You must always have your shipping papers ready, along with the emergency response guidebook or material safety data sheet to fully prepare yourselves.
The key to success is to be organized and know where all your documents are at all times and have them ready in case of an emergency. In the instance of a hazmat leak or spill, it must be reported to the safety hotline immediately at 1-800-331-0361.
You must always protect the scene and be prepared to handle any situation that may arise. Let's take a look at a list of things you will need to be aware of in the event of a leak or spill.
Never open the trailer doors unless you are authorized to do so. Secure the area. Keep everyone in the area away from the trailer unless they are authorized personnel handling the emergency. Keep fires, flames, cigarettes, cigars, and pipes away from the scene. Understand that if a hazmat spill or leak occurs, do not wash out the trailer unless authorized to do so. Some hazardous materials may become even more dangerous if they come in contact with water. Always call the safety hotline for instructions. If you are involved in an accident, do not leave the truck to make a call unless another Werner driver or a law enforcement officer is present. Always notify the corporate office by using Macro 43 to report the accident.
I can sum up the process of hauling hazmat with one simple phrase: be prepared. Let's reiterate the points how you can do this.
Always call in for a hazmat briefing no matter how much hazmat is in the trailer. This is a corporate policy, and there are people to help you around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Make sure the shipping papers are in proper order. Keep hazardous material shipping papers and emergency response information in the proper place. Make sure the freight is properly secured. If you're present during the loading and witness leaking packages and shipments, notify your dispatcher immediately and refuse to transport the load. Placard the trailer when loading if required. Safely transport the shipment without delay. And finally, follow all special rules pertaining to the transportation of hazardous materials.
The Federal Department of Transportation requires that packages containing any hazardous material not permanently attached to a motor vehicle must be secured against shifting, which includes relative motion between packages within the transporting vehicle. This means if you pick up a load that is not sealed, you will need to inspect the freight and make sure it is properly secured before you leave the shipper. If the freight is not properly blocked and braced, you are required by the Department of Transportation to make sure the freight is properly blocked and braced before you move the load. If you are not able to block and brace the freight, you must call the safety hotline at 800-331-0361 and let them know, and they will assist you. If the trailer is sealed when you pick it up, you should not break the seal in order to check the freight. Now, let's take a look at what it means to secure freight against shifting, which includes relative motion between packages within the transporting vehicle. The arrows indicate gaps between the freight. The freight must be secured so that it can't move. Some shippers use airbags to accomplish this, and some shippers use other means, such as a 2x4 against a pallet and nailed to the trailer's floor. Straps may also be used in some cases. The bottom line is, if you see a load where the freight has not been properly secured, you are responsible for making sure it is secured. If you are not able to secure the freight yourself, you are required to call the safety hotline at 800-331-0361 before the trailer is moved. Hazmat freight that is not properly secured will not only result in a fine, but you will also be placed out of service until the freight is secured. You don't want to get yourself into an out-of-service situation, because if you didn't have the means to secure it prior to leaving the shipper, it will be even more difficult for you to secure the freight out on the road.
If you ever have any questions over the regulations we covered today, call your dispatcher or the safety hotline, and don't hesitate to stop at any of the scales across the United States to ask any law enforcement officer any questions you may have. My name is Kevin Stary. Nebraska State Patrol and Warner Enterprises thanks you for your time today. And remember, safety is no accident.